This program is brought to you by Emory University.
First thing we have our panels. So you have 3 different circuit selectors. So these guys right here, all these circuits have the ability to dim. If they're dimming or not, we decide in programming what type of dimming, etc. You also have over here another circuit selector. This panel is a relay panel, on and off. That's all these circuits do. So when you go to programming, it's already pre-set up. You're not going to do any programming from these circuit selectors. You can do all your programming from those 4,000 systems over there. So if the only option you have is all on or all off, guess what? It's coming out of this panel. There's no dimming capability to it. All your cove lights are just on and off. All your stairwell lights, when you're walking down the stairs here, those are on and off. So those two 4,000s is what I'm calling these. These 2 4,000s are doing everything in this open area with the exception of that little side space down there. So the little side area downstairs, which we'll walk down and look at, has its own graphic eye, but it has the ability that you can hit a button and then everything works together. So if you're using the whole space, I'll show you how you do that. So we'll go into programming on this in a minute. This is a 16 button scene. So you have 16 different scenes you can select. That's the max number on this system. So you literally can turn on, you can have 16 different scenes. We always leave one scene for the off. It defaults to off. It's going to shut everything down. You won't be adjusting that one. But we can walk. We have another 16 button push station. So I'll show you the easiest way to program these things. Is this one mimics the one upstairs. So you could be upstairs, you could do all your scene adjustments, get it the way you want it, and then you can call those scenes from down here. So if you change buttons 1 through 4 over here, guess what? It's going to do the same thing upstairs or vice versa. You also see another graphic eye. This graphic eye is where it was shown on the prints. It's a little bit different. This one's controlling outside in the walkway. There's also a push button out there that I'll show you. It's just on or off. And there's also a daylight sensor, which when it gets enough daylight, they're 2-step ballast, so half the ballast go off and stay on. So you go down to, say, 50% basically.
So you have 16 different things that will do?
Yes.
So is there a diagram of each 16 so people will know?
There's a print, and we'll go through that print when we go back upstairs to program which one's controlling what circuit, where it's landed.
Right, okay.
This right here is our partitioning device. So basically, depending on which button you hit here, it's either going to work this side or it's not. So there's another graphic eye right over here, and then there's a 5-button wall station that looks a lot like this. So right now, if I hit my off button, we're controlling this area over here as well. Hit my on button, everybody comes back on. If I hit this guy down here and hit my off button, I'm not controlling that side. So bottom button, individual work, top button, everybody's working together. What's doing is it's reading how much daylight's coming in. When it gets above a certain amount of foot candles, it shuts off 50% of these ballasts. So if you ever look up there and wonder what that is, that's the Lutron product. So this stairwell right here and then the walkway downstairs, and I believe it's the outside lights as well, is controlled from one wall station downstairs. It's also controlled from that graphic eye. So that graphic eye that we were looking at over there, but next to that 16 button, that's how I'm controlling those circuits. So all it's doing is either on or off. There's no dimming circuits or anything like that. However, you do have 2 locations where you can turn off the lights if you wanted to. It's also connected to the circuit that does the walkway outside. So you ever see those lights going on and off just because this wall station or the one upstairs? Potentially. Okay. No, but I don't know. There's no way to separate it. It's not individual circuits, so this has to be on if you want that on, or vice versa.
So these interior lights have to stay on to keep the exterior lights on?
Yes, it was shown as the same circuit on the prints. Is that correct? There's definitely some kind of block that you could put on there. They do make a cover for it. Lutron makes a specialized cover where you can get from Home Depot if you wanted to. There's the ability to do that. Going to Home Depot later.
So we don't need to be like good citizens who turn the lights out in the house before we leave, because it will also turn out the exterior lights, which are
They are
safety
tied
issue.
onto the exterior lights. Yes. And that was
Well,
one
that's
thing.
what I was wondering, but
These are graphic eyes and their address. And this is you see here, if you look at the top, you're going to see 1 through 8. So that's zones 1 through 8. To reference those zones, we look back at this print. That's what you were asking earlier.
Yes, sir.
What is controlling is right across here. So zone 1 through zone 8 is right here. So then we have zone 9 through 16. But in order to get to those zones, we have to hit this little button right here. And it goes over to those zones. Okay? And then we have 17 through 24. So we hit that button again. We're on 17 through 24. If you see it, all this stuff's off on this scene 1, and the reason for that is, I didn't show you this, I forgot about it, but there's a push button when you first walk in on this far side, and so what I did is I made that go to scene 1. So I didn't want any halogens coming on or any of your spotlights, just normal walking through, so that's why I created scene 1, because that is scene 1. Yeah, all your halogens pointing down, I didn't want any of that going on. So we got 1 through 24 here. Then if we come down to this guy, we have a few more. So this little bit, there's no exact numbering on this, but this is starting at 25, going down to 32. So this is 25 through 32. Even though it says 1 through 8, they don't make numbers, it says through 32.
Can we get a smaller copy of that?
Absolutely,
Okay.
your EC can supply it
Okay.
with closeout documents.
Yeah.
This is actually a print, so it will be in those prints.
Okay.
So let's talk about how we adjust scenes. So if we went back up here, and we're looking at our first 8 circuits, and I want to, the easiest way to do this is a 16 scene button, but the way they number it is, don't ask me why, I don't program the button, but it goes 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4 off, 6, 7, 8, so it's confusing because it's exact backwards of what you think. So the easiest way to program it is simply go to, let's say we want to program this button right here. Then what I'm going to do is just come over here, I'm going to look at my scene 3, let's say I want it up to 100%. I bring that guy up to 100%. If you think about these bubbles, it doesn't give you percentages on this system, but each bubble represents roughly 12%. So every time you go up, you're bringing your light up 12%. And you'll be able to obviously look outside and see what it's doing. So I brought him all the way up. I'm on this button right here. So if I go back over here to this guy, I see him drop back down. I go back to him. Guess what? He's programmed now. So that scene has adjusted with what I did.
It's automatically programmed.
Automatically programmed.
You punch a button first and then set it? Or you
Yes,
set it-
so
Okay.
this represents your scene.
Gotcha.
So if you wanted to adjust this scene, then you go,
Punch
you
that
adjust
first,
here,
then adjust.
then you adjust here,
Yeah.
and then all you have to do is flip back and forth. And like I said earlier, if we walk downstairs to that 16 button now,
Mhm.
it's going to do the same exact thing. It's going to mimic
You don't have to hold it down or anything like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the easiest way to program this stuff, is have somebody out there adjust the scene, or you can do it by yourself. There is ways to go into programming. You can start getting into a little bit of trouble if you start doing that. Again, all you're really doing is adjusting scenes. So we can set up a few scenes if you guys want to.
Yeah, if you could, yeah, just kind of go through the process
Absolutely.
again a couple of times.
So this top right one, I'm going to suggest that you leave it the way that it is, because that way we're not turning on any outside lights. This guy down here, we're not going to change. So now we have scene 2, it's just our piano scene. So we can go to scene 3, and just so you guys know how it starts out, you'll see a lot of lights come on. I didn't do any changes, so it's just default settings. So
Right.
you might hit button 2, everything came on at 75%. Button 3, everything's going to come on at 50% because we haven't changed anything yet. So if I go to button 3 here,
There we go, yeah.
so everything's on at 50%. So still looking for the pulpit. You can hold multiple buttons down at the same time too. Just so you know.
Is there a master button?
There is a master raise
Over
button.
on the
Yep.
right there.
Over on the right side. The problem with using a master raise button when you have this many scenes is you're going to adjust everything else out here. So if you wanted these code lights
all
on
the
everything,
pin lights.
you're going to cut everything. So I always suggest doing them individually, because then you know what you're controlling. He is an on and off circuit. So as opposed to everybody else, if you notice when I hold this button down, it drops down slowly. When I hit this guy right here, it's all on. Control. The one graphic eye over on the side, you can, I don't know what we're calling that area, but the side area, yes, you can adjust it from that graphic eye over there. And then the walkways and everything, that graphic eye can change those scenes. That's already programmed, it's all on or all off, and then the only other thing that's controlling it besides your on and off. If you look, right now I'm on like scene 5 or 6 because we're adjusting individual scenes. You'll see no lights on these. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's not working, it just means it's doing a scene that isn't represented by the switch. So we go to off, they're in a drop off. And then you can see we're in the off scene, it recognizes the off scene. And then scene 1 is that one that I
Okay,
made.
that's
It's generic, when you
perfect.
walk in, everything comes on with the exception of our halogen lights. And that's why we don't, exactly, that's why I say don't adjust top.
Okay, so then the bottom one
Top,
is,
top right and bottom right, don't
Okay.
ever adjust those.
okay.
And then you have all
Later
these,
in here.
then you have all these that you
Okay,
can.
George
play with as well.
mentioned the Catholics are gonna want top left
Okay.
for their, and what we want that to be is that kind of default that I was speaking about earlier, just altar, pulpit, choir area. So that will include
Okay.
this, but we'll also use the same as.
And then the 19
Yeah,
that we
those
had
other
earlier.
things. So,
Okay,
we'll look at
so-
combining those.
What we can do is move these prints.
And that'll be like a major default that everybody,
Everybody
we'll probably
gets.
use that for Tuesday, Thursday chapel services
Okay.
a lot and that type of thing
So
also.
top left is going to be your default. So we can look here. So if you look here,
Uh-huh.
you see going across. So this one for the backlights that we just brought up,
Uh-huh.
I know that's number 21.
Okay.
Okay. And then if we go down here, I see 1 through 8,
Uh-huh.
and I know that this guy, number
Well, I
8.
see here 20, and it's reading out on that later
Exactly.
there.
So if you want to adjust around those, you hit the select button. So this is
1 through 8.
1 through 8.
Okay, now I can see it. I was too far away earlier.
So if we go here, this is 21. So we know that the scene that you're talking about for the top left, I need 21 from him and 8 from him. But
Okay.
you also said that you wanted the pulpit light.
Pulpit and altar, yeah.
So we hit this guy right here,
That's how they do it. I mean, the latch, they put it in.
and I know that it's
way
20
higher.
because we created this scene. So what I want you to do is hit that top
We
left
go
button.
here to the top left.
Yep.
Okay, so.
So now,
we've got-
so first thing we need to do is go through, because again, we talked about our default settings.
Right.
We need to drop all these out. So go ahead and just bring them down. You can hear the relays click off over there.
Right, in the breaker
Yep.
box.
It's kind of like when you speak on a whole like
Same thing around here.
Take his hat off, take his hat off.
That's going off. What is that that's going off? You got your real.
Is that a light from
Seven?
Oregon, or is it natural light? From the windows back over there?
Step lights. So
Oh,
those are
okay.
those side step
Well,
lights.
those should probably stay
You can
on.
keep them on.
Yeah, those should stay on pretty much all the time, I think.
Okay, so now we're looking, so you cleared out this area.
See, I don't know if that's.
Yeah, well, that's because you cleared out this area, but you
Okay.
didn't clear out this area.
Okay, 17. So if I was to go out and look at the truss now, I would see a number of low.
Mm-hmm, exactly. All right, so now you want to do your 20 and 21, which is where you're at because your zone numbers are lit up, right?
And I want to bring about, let's try about 40 to 50%. 20, 21. 21 was was that the pulpit?
That was the backlights.
That's the back, okay, that's,
Yeah, 20 is the pulpit,
okay.
which I found, yeah, you almost have to be 50%. Good start.
That looks decent.
And then your other one was 8, which is your choir. So.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.